next speaker, Mr. Greg Owen, who is the CEO of Text to Drive, but he is also a licensed U.S. and Illinois state attorney, and he's an expert on the other side of the coin. So now we've given you some ideas to make it really dangerous. From a legal perspective, Greg's going to teach you how to stay out of trouble.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Is this on? First of all, I want to thank John, and Ron, which sounds like a boy band in the 60s. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I want to thank them for allowing me to convince them that I know what I'm talking about. Now, the big jury is right here. So hopefully, when we're finished here with our little session 2, will believe that I at least have some idea of what I'm talking about, and you can take it with you and use it. So what I'd like to do first is turn this thing on and get her fired up. They did a really good job, the people that just did, Kate and Jason. Yeah. Almost there. There we go. Okay. Digital marketing and messaging law. We're talking about 2 primary forms of advertising or marketing, I should say. And that's email and texting. We've already heard about direct mail. It has its purposes, but basically in the world today it's about email, and more so even with text messaging. Now, the fact of the matter is you have to be extremely careful when you're doing this. This is not something to just jump into, okay? I've been in this text realm for about 9 years, and one of the things we found out is if you don't do it right, it can cost you some money. Because actual fines levied at these companies, and these are just a few, for text marketing improperly. And you would think they would have some attorneys telling them what to do, but apparently they didn't. So, before I go much further, I think it's important when somebody's up there telling you, you know, listen to me, believe me, you probably want to know a little bit about who's this person telling you to listen, you know? Because why do you believe me? You know, I'm one of them myself sometimes. But, so let me give you just a quick little background so you'll see. I'm from a place called Margie, Minnesota. Now, Margie, Minnesota, we talk about the flyover states. That's not even a flyover place. I mean, nobody flies over Margie, Minnesota. I mean, International Falls. A little rough up there, and actually where I actually lived is right there. No silver spoon born in this boy's mouth. Let me tell you right now, nobody flew over that. My grandpa and uncle had planes, but that's about the only planes we ever saw. Well then, at some point, my family decided, we gotta move south where it's warmer. So they moved to Chicago. But, more importantly, are there any Cub fans here? Woo! Go Cubs. 57 years of waiting. My son's a Cub fan. He was since he was 3. I was starting to get worried that I was never going to see it, and I was even concerned for him. So that's past now, so we're really pleased about that. Well, I'm an attorney, as they said, and I'm also a business entrepreneur. I guess that's something like that. But there was something that happened that led me to this place right here. And it was this. When I was 17, I was in a band called the American Breed. You might remember our song if you're over 60. Bend me, shape me, any way you want me. So you got to be pretty old to know the tune. I'm very embarrassed. Because some people, they say, isn't that the commercial for the bed? Oh yeah, that's the song. Well, that led from one thing to another. And what happened with that band was this. Our manager was a lawyer. And that record sold 2,400,000 copies. I made $1,500. Something wasn't right? And I was so naive that I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep playing in bands, but I'm going to go to law school. So that I'm not screwed as a musician. I mean, I actually was in law school looking like the guy on the left. I'm actually the one in front. I had this picture on the right. I took it to get framed somewhere, and some young guy said, which one are you? It's a true story. I swear it's a true story. I'm like, really? I got that much of. You can't figure it out? Well, So what happened was, as I progressed through my musical career, it did quite well. It got a little out of control. I mean, I had started since I was 15. I really didn't know what the world was like. And since I was in law school, something told me, you know, you gotta make a change. And you have to really turn your life around. So I became a prosecutor. And lo and behold, a few years later, Richard Daley named me the chief of gang prosecutions in Chicago County, Illinois. Big change. 4 or 5 years from rock and roll, the chief of gang prosecutions. That's David right there. That's me when I was really young. And eventually he did run for mayor. Well, then it got a little bit out of control because what we realized in gang prosecutions was the drug cartels in Mexico and other countries were using street gangs in Chicago to distribute narcotics. Well, they don't like it when you take down the leaders. And we did, and so they put a contract on me. And it was legitimate. They broke into some railroad cars and they got some high-powered weapons and they said, we're gonna shoot the guys who testified at this hearing and blew me away. So, needless to say, I had my son Greg, and I was married at the time. Probably not the best job right now, you know, a little dangerous. So they moved me to Washington, D.C. to work with the Attorney General's office because they didn't have a clue about gangs. They didn't even know about drug cartels, really. So I spent some time with them, and while I was there, I got to know people at the FCC, which is very attractive. You had women working there. So it was worth taking a little ride in the FCC. And what do you get from that? Everything in this business, as you know, is about relationships, right? So that relationship, 30 years ago or more, paid off big time when we decided, you know what? Well, before that though, this is my son, by the way, I had to show that. And he and I, together, started creating automotive magazines because I got tired of representing criminals. I was a prosecutor, then I had to switch sides, and I got old. I mean, I just didn't like it. So we decided, let's get into automotive advertising business. We didn't know what we were doing, but we created 7 magazines across the country. And the last one still exists in Colorado. And some years ago, a guy came up to us and said, you know, this is new technology where you can find a car by just texting. I don't even text. Text what? And he showed me, and I was intrigued, and so was my son. And so we decided at that moment, we would transition, keep doing print. We're going to get into this at any time, so we did. And the first thing I did was call up somebody from the MCC and say, I want to do this. Are we in trouble? What's the law? Well, if you've been a lawyer, at least you know how to read the law. I'm not saying you're great, but you know how to read the law. So, you know, they directed me in the right place. And now let's talk about digital marketing and the law. And like I said, there's 2 areas. The first is email. Email marketing is sort of controlled by the Federal Trade Commission because it's really about advertising. So the way the law has evolved, the Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003. Nice name. The CAN SPAM Act. And what it's really about is deception. In other words, and we've all received them. I mean, how many emails have you received where, whose name is that? Or there's no way to unsubscribe. How it came from some foreign country, who knows where. That's what they're talking about. That was in 2003 under George Bush. And as a result, there's certain things you have to know. They're not really, you probably don't know. Don't use false and misleading heading information. Don't use deceptive subject lines. You know, speak for itself. Identify your message as an ad. You know, tell them where you have an address. Where are you? Tell people how to opt out. Now this is serious, and even an email. If you don't have an unsubscribe, you're gonna get fined. And once you do, allegedly you're supposed to have 10 days to get them out of your system, not, you know, so they don't really want to get a message. And monitor what other people are doing on your behalf. Like if you have a company doing it for you, guess what? You're responsible. But text messaging is the most federally controlled form of communication in the history of our country. And guess when it became really federally controlled? You got an idea? Take a wild guess. Under an outgoing president. And it's not a political issue. It's strictly a way people think. That political persuasion thought business is bad, consumers need to be protected, and therefore the laws they enacted through the FCC, because there is a law called the Telecom Consumer Protection Act, but that law is interpreted by the FCC. The FCC has 5 administrators, 3 Democrat, 2 Republican. That's going to change. And that law is going to change. And it's going to make it a lot easier for people to use text messaging in a lot of number of ways, which is good for everybody's business. But if you do it wrong, and you're involved in text marketing, and there's 2 types of text messaging: marketing and information. It's $500 to $1,500 a message. So it's real costly if you don't do it right. Now, like I said, there's 2 types: marketing, transactional, and they're very different. So, marketing. Have you heard the phrase a double opt-in? I mean, you know, what double opt-in? Double opt-in means this: a consumer initiates a text communication somehow to you or your system, and then they get a return message on their phone, a text message. And that message instructs them to do something else. Thank you so much for your interest in this offer. Reply C1 if you'd like to text your phone. When they hit C1, they're a marketing customer. And let me tell you this: there is no form of marketing more effective than text messaging. And it's not because I'm saying it, I've lived it. It is without question the most effective way to communicate and to send your message to people. Because how many of you have received a text in the last hour and didn't read it? Anybody? Because the thing about text messaging is personal, right? People don't send me, here's why, it's a good reason. Because if they send you messaging that's not really for you, they're gonna be fine. So the messaging you're getting is because you opted in, or it's transactional. Now, they say written authorization. It's written doesn't mean in writing. They have something called the E-Commerce Act, whatever. That's the double opt-in part. So there's some really good ways to do this, and it's very effective. So one of the ways is on our website, say you have coupons. We talked about some coupons earlier. You have a button somebody presses. Now, if this is on an iPad or a phone and they press it with their finger, they enter a number and they press the send button. Now, what the warnings about all this stuff about messaging, how many they will receive, are all right on that first page. So once the customer presses the send button, this is the customer's phone, the customer gets a message that's going to tell them, reply something else, right? Because you built a double opt-in. So here it comes. It says reply C1. And when they do, in a good text system, that person gets into a separate part of the database and they're now a marketing customer. And now you can market them. You can let them know there's specials this week. You can let them know, come in early and you can get this, and whatever it may be, now you can. And in a particular system, not only does the customer get the coupon, but the dealership knows the moment they do, and now you can engage them in conversation. I mean, instantly, okay? Another way to do it is you can text a keyword. Keywords, I mean, they sound fancy. A keyword is nothing more than hi. When you text a friend or something, you're texting a word or a set of words to a number. That's a keyword. And the number is just whatever, like ours is 37483. That spells the word drive if you type it out. But here's an example. The person, all they did was text 5004XP and they got pictures of a car texted to the phone. But before they do, they're asked, if you like the pictures, reply, I don't know, something. HL9. And now when they do that, you've got a double opt-in. So now you sales department, you can market that customer. And I just wondered over these years why people don't take advantage of this. This is so simple. It's what everybody wants to do. I mean, it's how the consumers want to act. And you can do it. And I'm going to tell you, the numbers are incredible when you start doing this. I'm not selling you anything. This is really how it is. Okay. So the customers got the car, the pictures, and they opened up a communication with you because they were applying HL9 double opt-in. So guess what? Window pops, and they're the sales department knows the car the customer communicate with the customer legally. No problem whatsoever. Pretty simple. They can use a template. And the other way is to do this, which has become very effective. In fact, some dealers have this. You put a template like if you're on the kiosk, just an iPad, put it in your service drive. And what you're doing is you want customers to do this. You're not sending direct mail. Email, a lot of stuff ends up as spam. Text don't. You want people to double opt in. here they're doing it. They press the button on the desk, and you can say something like, enter the Earnhardt or the whoever's mobile club, and you will receive an opportunity for a free car wash, a free anything, a oil change, anything or nothing, and it all works. So now we're going to talk about information, which is the thing that most of you will engage in. How many people here, and I just like to, if you could, humor me. How many people here in the last couple hours have, show of hands, have either received or sent a text message? How many people here 5 years ago received a text message? Probably not very many, right? How many people here, one last thing and I'll end with the games. How many people in this room have received a phone call in the last 24 hours, looked at the number, didn't recognize it, didn't answer the phone? That's what your customers are doing. They're doing it to you. They're doing exactly what you're doing. It's one of the first times in the history of our society that you, in your dealership service and parts department, are doing exactly the same thing as the customers. Because you don't like answering your phone either anymore. You had no problem 5 years ago. Now you do. Now, informational transaction, what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're telling somebody the car's ready to pick up, if you're letting them know the parts are in, if you're telling them, I want to remind you of an appointment. If you're saying, thank you so much for your service, I really appreciate your business. If you say to them, soon you may receive a survey, it would mean the world to me if you open it. No marketing. Got nothing to do with marketing. It's a personal plea based on a transaction that you're engaged in, okay? There's nothing added to it. No, and by the way, if you do, I'll give you $10. Can't do that. That's marketing. So the point is, you may have been told, and I have heard for years, people who do not know this law whatsoever, and they have terrified people because they've seen headlines, right? So-and-so sued, so-and-so sued. And I don't care who was the person or the company behind the messaging, they were wrong. They did it wrong, and they got their customer in trouble. So make sure what you do is you engage in a company that understands the law, because if you do, we have sent out over 50 million messages in the last 5 years. 50 million. And have never had anything close to a problem. Because we know how to do it. Because I have a little experience in this. So if somebody tells you you have to get somebody to sign or whatever, they're wrong. I'll show you. There's point blank wrong. The law says they're wrong. You need prior express consent. That means, sure, text me. And the law goes further, and it says this: in the absence of instructions to the contrary, consent is implied by the customer giving his or her wireless number to the person initiating the business text message. And if you think I made it up, there it is, that's the law. It's right there. Paragraph 52 in the last declaratory ruling of the FCC. And that's with a democratic FCC. Even then, it's okay to do that. So what am I saying? If somebody gives you their cell number as a mode of communication, you can send them at least one text. No marketing. None of this. So here we go. This is an example of what you can't do. The first message says, get here at 7 and we'll give you a Cubs t-shirt. No, I can't do that. But you can say you have appointments tomorrow. We'll take $10 off your service. Can't add that. But we can say it may be time to schedule maintenance. So you have to be cautious when you do this. We, in our company, we make sure that any templates you create or automation, we review it first. And we, it's serious. I don't need headlines in the automotive news. The lawyer thinks he knows everything and he got himself sued. No, we don't need that. So the point is this: you can safely do this. Do not believe anyone who tells you that you do not need written authorization. Period. To send informational messaging. And like I was saying, the whole point of this is when you engage in text messaging, and then there's marketing, are two different things. Just be aware of who you're working with, and if they understand the gravity of the situation, so you don't end up with a $25 or $16 million fine or whatever. I mean, I know dealers that have been fined $2.5 million, $3 3 million, large groups by not doing this right. So that's it. I think I've covered pretty much what you need to know to safely navigate through this world of digital messaging and even marketing. And it's very powerful. Any questions? That's what I think. Messaging? Okay. Let me give you an example. Let's say you sell a car to a customer. And part of the sale is, by the way, customer, you get your first oil change free, your first service here, okay? And you set a first service reminder. And you say, this is about time for your first service, and don't forget, you get your oil change free, or whatever. That's okay. Because you've already informed the customer, you're not adding something, you're not including something new. So you cannot say, without them being a marketing customer, you can't offer them anything. Forget the word free, discount, unless you're engaged in the conversation. So let's just say you send that customer a message and you say, I want to let you know your parts are in such and such. And the customer says back, yeah, but give me deals on floor mats. You're good to go. You're fine. Yep. And the other thing is this is important. The law says you have to provide the customer a way, in the way the law calls it, is to revoke their consent. What is consent? Well, they say you can text them. But you have to give them every single almost message, except when you're communicating together, a way to opt out. And you might see them as reply stop, opt out, that's what the law requires. So if a customer says stop, that's it. You can't communicate it via text anyway. We, for example, give them, they opt out, they get a message. Sorry you want to opt out, but if you want to opt back in, we tell them how to get back in. Our number of people that opt out nationally with 970 years is about 3%. So 97% of the people over the course of 1 year never opt out. Yes?
What if you're saying, hey, it's been a while, we haven't seen you, we miss you, check out our search special, you can hit.
No. Can't do that. That's marketing. Just think in terms of this. Think in terms of yourself. Think about how you would think about it. This is pretty common sense stuff. If you think you're saying something to entice someone, it's marketing. Sorry. Yes.
So you could, in fact, say you're due for your 30,000 mile service. They say how much or what does that include?
Good to go.
Right?
You can give them discounts, you can do anything you want. Once they've replied, you're free to go. It's not like, oh, I can't talk to you. Of course you can. Yes?
Does it make a difference if the employee is using their personal phone?
Yes. No. That's the two answers. Here's the reason. A lot of dealers today have their salesmen using their personal cell phone to text customers, right? And they think, and I know some actual nasty lawyers in this business who are getting ready to bring some class actions against the dealers for doing this too. They think, the dealer thinks, well, it's not my phone, it's his phone or her phone, but lo and behold, they put the number on a business card, right? The minute you put it on the business card, you've adapted that as a phone number for that store, for that purpose, right? For that purpose. So you better give the people a way to opt out. Because that's the one thing you have to do that. You cannot be sending the messages to people in a business environment without the ability to go to consent.
Well, when does the clock actually stop engaging?
Conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
When does it stop? 6 months later? You all have something to do.
And this is another gray area. Most people, attorneys that are engaged in this say you got 90 days. And if nobody, what it comes down to this, if nobody's communicated, but you've already had, information, the customer's interested in a certain car, right? And 60 days later, 90, your car comes in. I mean, even if it's 100, you know what I'm saying? It's just common sense. Hey, by the way, I got a car that you're looking for. That's different. It's when you wholesale take a bunch of people that haven't bought cars and blast them a message. Oh, by the way, this weekend, no, you know, unless they've opted in. So what I say is, the minute a customer engages you, right, engages you in a possible sale, have them do one of these mechanisms or have them on
Engage you in the marketing department.
Yep.
I go 30 days later, I engage you in the sales department.
If the message does not, if it's not involved in marketing, yes. Unless they've opted in. Anything else? Yes. I'm sorry, what? They're done. If they opt out of transaction, you can't communicate with them. And that's one of the things that got some people sued not too long ago, to the big money. They sent out a message to 60,000 people, 48,000 opted out, and 7 days later, those 48,000 got another message. That's a problem. And they got sued, fined $2.5 million. So, I don't know what you're doing. Yes? Yep. Okay. In our system, if a person is opted out, I don't care when they come in. They've got to opt back in. I have to err on the side of caution, right? Because as you probably know, no one likes to sue anybody more than a lawyer. People love to sue lawyers because nobody likes them. So because of that, we do get the benefit of, we go back and we make sure no one's getting sued. And yet it's effective. So, yeah, no, if they've opted out, our system will always be, they got opt back in. So what you do is you make sure you have a minimum on the side that says, oh, you may have opted out if you'd like to opt back in. It's something that tells them what to do. They get a message when they do, and maybe they forgot. Or you can tell them. Another thing they can do, say they opted out, right? Then they go to your website, they get one of these coupons, they've opted back in. No, you can't. And they're marketing customers too. I mean, I personally, if it was me, I would let everybody know that we are, basically cutting down on our direct mail and email. You can find all of our coupons online, drive it to your website, improve your SEO, and allow the consumer to get the message the way they want. Press a button and it's text to their phone. Now you get a marketing text. What does it cost you? Nothing extra. It's a very, like they were talking about, they saw heater.com and all these people, same thing, and it's specific type of stuff put on my website. John Armando, how do you do? Okay, I mean, are you still convinced?